Good evening. Coming up in Mello TV Evening News, $160 million fraud uncovered at Apr, while 5 Burger King employees charged for larceny, conspiracy to defraud, and engaging in transactions involving criminal property. Lawmakers pushing for crackdown on graphic social media content, and the police are this evening reporting a reduction in abductions. And now the news in detail. The Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Unit has arrested and charged individuals after a year-long investigation into an alleged case of fraud at a separate group of companies. 2 employees manipulated the computer system and helped 24 others to steal goods, with a total amount stolen valuing approximately $160 million between October 2021 and May 2022. Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey gave a breakdown of the details.
The investigation uncovered that between October 2021 and May 2022, a total of $1,160,109 were stolen from the company, that is, separate group of company. The investigation discovered that 2 IT employees manipulated the computer system to facilitate 24 other employees, and those are route sales driver and assistants, who participated in the fraud by collecting goods from separate group of company warehouse on behalf of van sales department, and subsequently sold the goods and kept the proceeds. This occurred on several occasions over the period of October 2021 and May 2022.
The 14 that have been charged will appear before the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Monday, May 22. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF, has also made additional calls.
Members of CETA conducted special operations across Clarendon, St. Catherine, and the corporate area, where 17 suspects involved in the fraud were arrested and placed in custody. 14 of these suspects have been charged so far.
In the meantime, 5 Burger King employees have been charged by the fraud squad for larceny as a servant, conspiracy to defraud, and engaging in transactions involving criminal property. The employees, aged between 21 and 39 years old, are accused of stealing an unspecified amount of money from the establishment between December 2022 and March 2023. The police were alerted to the situation on April 2, resulting in the arrest of the employees on the same day. Charged are 36-year-old Terrian O'Haro, of a cashier of 9 Miles Bull Bay, St. Andrew. 39-year-old Camellia Wisdom, a supervisor of Hamburg Road, Kingston. 22-year-old Astia Mitchell, a cashier of 7 Miles Bull Bay. 39-year-old Sharon Williams, a cashier of Bayshore Park, Harborview, Kingston 17. And 21-year-old Christina Lewis, a cashier of Glasspool Avenue, Kingston 2. Further investigations are ongoing to determine the full extent of the fraud. The employees are scheduled to appear in court on May 12. And the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF, is scheduled to host a press conference to provide further details on this latest fraud case. And over in Manchester, armed robbers broke into a remittance outlet on Manchester Road in Mandeville this morning and stole a large sum of cash. The police have since launched a manhunt for the armed thugs. According to preliminary reports, the armed robbers entered the facility and held up an employee demanding money. The armed robbers are said to have made off with approximately $8 million. Further checks are being made to determine the full extent of the robbery. And Mello TV will bring you more updates on this developing story in subsequent newscasts. Jamaican legislators are considering adding a provision to the Cyber Crimes Act that would make it illegal to share graphic images of the dead and seriously injured on social media. The issue was raised during a meeting of the Joint Select Committee of Parliament reviewing the act, with legislators noting that some users share disturbing videos and images of crime and accident scenes online, causing distress to the relatives and friends of the victims. The committee is seeking input from the Legal Reform Department and the Attorney General's chambers to determine how to address the issue in the legislation. The number of recorded abductions in Jamaica decreased by 41% in 2022 compared to the previous year. According to a study conducted by the Jamaica Constabulary Force and 2 other researchers, a total of 228 abduction cases were reported over a 2-year period, with 84 cases in 2022 alone. Senior communications strategist at the JCF, Dennis Brooks, stated that the reduction can be attributed to a combination of factors, including the efforts of law enforcement, public education, community engagement, and assistance from taxi associations. The study was published early this year in Eureka Journals. Minister without portfolio in Jamaica's Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan, has announced that the country's constitutional reform efforts will not tackle matters relating to gay rights and abortion. Minister Morgan was responding to criticisms of Canadian professor Richard Albert, who is part of the 14-member committee overseeing the reform process.
The issue that consumes the conversation is not a matter that is being contemplated by the government. The government has not articulated that this constitutional reform process will disturb such wide ranges of issues. Our intention, as articulated by the Prime Minister, is pretty much to focus on the republic status of Jamaica. In bringing the committee together, the government was very cognizant of getting the views of a wide cross-section, including the church. And I don't suspect that any, as the church may contemplate, or as this particular representative of the church may contemplate, that there will be anyone who can dominate a debate or a conversation on the committee, because give credit to those on the committee, they're very strong individuals of intellect, competence, and consequence. So I just generally, not speaking specifically to that individual, Jamaicans can be assured that the committee was formed in the best interest of our society for its better future.
The 35th St. Mary Agri Expo, held on April 10, was a great success, with Minister Pernell Charles Jr. praising the initiative and innovation and excitement displayed. The event showcased crops, livestock, and technology in agriculture and included contests and demonstrations.
Today, I want to call on all of our educational institutions, whether you are a basic school, primary school, secondary school, tertiary institution, whether you are Case, whether you are Nakalva, whether you are Monig, whatever educational institution, UTEC, you must ensure that you are putting into your curriculum the kind of innovative programs for our youngsters to be able to learn and execute innovation in agriculture. Today you saw multiple displays of drones and other techniques that are grow smart techniques.
Richard Creary, chairman of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, praised the attendees and charged them to help restore St. Mary to its former glory.
To the future. St. Mary was once perhaps the premier agricultural parish in Jamaica, and banana is synonymous with St. Mary. St. Mary had some of the largest banana and sugar estates and was once the wealthiest parish. And we would like to see St. Mary go back to those days of glory. And I call on the farmers of St. Mary to let us utilize some of the land that we have that is being overtaken by bamboo. Whereas bamboo is important, we need to go back to the level of cultivation that we had so many years ago.
The event ended with a gospel concert and stage show. The theme of the expo was Smart Agriculture, harnessing the power of automation and digitization for a sustainable future. Ambassador for the Republic of Cuba, Fermin Quinones, affirmed the importance of technologically driven farming practices.
For Cuba, the blockade had been a limitation, but it had not been able to stop the innovative capacity of the men and women of the countryside who have achieved a high resilience capacity to face the challenge that arise. Many of them, with the help of science, are moving towards more productive and environmentally friendly agriculture techniques and methods, with reduced or zero consumption of fertilizers and pesticides, and very low consumption of water resources. In our conditions, the application of science and technology must be an inseparable part of the formula for increasing agricultural production. Science will never be in contradiction with the application of the knowledge of our parents and grandparents. We must work to combine science with this knowledge to achieve our goal of food self-sufficiency.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured sections of the St. Thomas leg of the Southern Coastal Highway on Wednesday, April 12, with a tour commencing at Harborview in Kingston. The highway is scheduled to be completed by August.
We're still on the 14-kilometer stretch that is being directly constructed by China Harbor, which we had said earlier is a 4-lane highway. Now, a part of the works would be on the existing road, and another part of the works would be on what Mr. Hunter has just described as greenfield. So it's a totally new alignment. The works that are on new alignment don't interfere with existing communities, except that there may be some communities that are in proximity. And when we change alignment, it can change surface water flows. And that may affect communities. It may expose them to flooding, which they probably didn't have, or erosion, which they didn't have before. And what we have done is to incorporate those eventualities into the construction, into the entire construction work. So there is a community which is in proximity to here, which would be the Grand Spent community, MP, that was affected, and provisions were made to ensure that they weren't flooded out and that they would also have access, because the new alignment could have closed off access for them, so it could have had a commercial impact on them. They had shops and people would stop, and that's how they would make a living. But we have also made provisions for that.
Mr. Holness says plans are in place to ensure that vehicles maneuvering the road during operation can do so with relative ease. The Prime Minister says plans are afoot to make other stops in Bull Bay in St. Andrew, as well as Yallas, Morant Bay and Cedar Valley in St. Thomas. And those are the stories making the news this evening. Thank you for tuning in to Mello TV Evening News. I'm Nicole Hales. Stay safe and thanks for watching.